Today, you're going to be working with two formula. One will determine the angle for your angle of impact, and the other will determine the height for your area of convergence. So in order to carry out your blood spatter lab with looking at angle of impact and area of convergence, you're going to need the following items. You're going to need your actual blood spatter pattern, which you're going to tape down to your countertop using some form of tape. You're going to need some type of ruler that you can draw a straight edge with. You're going to need a dry erase marker. You're going to need string. Here you have 4 pieces, but you'll need it in the end, you'll need 8. And finally, you're also going to need this chemistry stand or something equivalent to it. All right, for now, we'll go ahead and move this out of the way. We'll go ahead and move our string out of the way. And we'll focus just on these pages. So the first thing you need to do is identify your leading and your lagging edges, right? So if you come in, like if you could focus in on one of these blood drops. If you focus in on one of these blood drops, you can tell the leading and the lagging edge by satellite and carryover. So this is the lagging edge. This is the leading edge. The leading edge is towards the orientation, the direction from which the blood originated. The lagging edge is the opposite direction. You're going to look at your different blood droplets, and you're going to identify 4 that give you somewhat good orientation on leading and lagging edges, and you're going to identify those. So you're going to put a little note next to them. This one, we might look at this one, we might look at this one here, and we might look at something like this one right here. Once you've identified the 4 you're going to work with, what you need to do is you need to go down the axis of that blood droplet and bisect it lengthwise with your straight edge, like this. Okay? And then using your dry erase marker, you're going to go ahead and draw on a line that basically gives you your direction towards your area of origin. Okay? You're going to do that for each one of these. So you can see that we're left with a pattern that looks like this. I find it is also useful to identify each edge of my page as I move forward. So what we've done is we've taken essentially a splatter pattern, we've affixed it to the ground, and we're assuming this was laid out on the table like this. So what that allows us to do is now bring in our string and take each strand and then lay them over this and carry them out to a point of convergence. Like so. And then you'll repeat that with all 4 blood spatter droplets. So what you can see here is we've actually laid out and followed the lines of all 4 of our blood spatter pattern droplets, and we can see from the lagging edge all the way to the leading edge to the point of convergence here. And so you can see where all 4 of them naturally converge at this pattern. Now, your individual pattern will vary because each of these pages is different. And you may actually end up with 2 sets that don't converge, or even 4 that never converge. And so you need to look and see what you've actually got on your individual page. From here, we've got a general point of convergence, right? And now we need to work out angle of impact. So if you follow your strings down to a rough point of convergence, you can see we've placed the chemistry stand at that point, and so that it gives an approximation of where these 4 different blood spatters came from in location. The next thing we need to do is work out the angle of impact, and for that we're going to need 4 more pieces of string, and they're going to need to be somewhat longer than the 4 pieces that you started with. so that you've got plenty of room to work with. From those 4 pieces, what you're going to do is from each one of them, you're going to bring in a piece of string, and you're going to start here, right at the spot where you're working at, and right at the head of that blood spatter, you're going to want to go ahead and tape it down. And this is going to allow you to then use the area of, or the angle of impact equation in your lab manual to work out the approximate height from which this individual blood spatter pattern came from. So you'll want to have taken those measurements, and then what you'll do is you'll bring your string to the height, measuring up from the base, from the ground all the way to that height, and you'll want to secure it. And so the easiest way we found to secure it is something approximately like this. And that will secure that individual blood spatter pattern, right? You've worked out your point of area of convergence, you've worked out your angle of impact, and this is going to be the point of origin approximately from which the strike occurred. So you're going to want to go ahead and affix this, find the head, and carefully tape it down right there so that when your angled string leaves, it leaves directly from the head. And then what you're going to do is you're going to follow that over to your height pattern, and based on the height measurement that you get from that angle of impact, from the ground to the top, you'll set your string. So we can actually see that while originally all of these came from the same point of origin, the actual area of convergence was quite different. We had 2 blood spatters coming from one and 2 blood spatters coming from the other, based on the calculations we worked up with from angle of impact off of our initial blood spatter. So before you begin laying strings and everything, you're going to have to get into those blood spatters and take actual measurements so you can work those out. You're going to have to record those, and you should be able to do that on your worksheet. Then what you do is you get your areas of convergence based on your height, and you can actually calculate that out, and you end up with a setup that looks like this. And that is how you work out area of convergence using the apparatus that we have in the lab today.